My first 3 months I applied, and all I was just getting was unfortunately, unfortunately,
Unfortunate.
unfortunately. But one thing about me that some people will tell you, oh, they felt bad about it. I didn't feel bad when I was getting the unfortunately, because I knew that it was just a matter of time. I knew I was going to eat it. I knew I was going to get that role. I knew. So I just knew it was just a matter of time. So I was not catching feelings on the disapproval. I wasn't catching feelings on the negative vibe I was getting from those meals. I was just determined that, okay, even the 150 meals I was targeting, maybe I will even get at the 200 meals or the 250 or the 110, 1000 meals. I knew that I had substance in me, and I knew I was going to get it. I knew it was going to take some level of time. So I wasn't depressed by those feedbacks. I wasn't depressed because even doing when I got my admission in Nigeria at Federal University of Technology,
Okay.
I think that was in 2007. The first course, the one I was given was the course I was given was computer science. For some weird reason, I had to go and meet the registrar to plead that I don't want computer science. And the reasons why I said I didn't want that was because I had a friend who was always reading. He was in computer science, he was a year ahead of me. So he was always reading. And I felt that, oh, I don't want to get involved in an academicians that would not make me have anything about life. So I had to.
Hello guys, welcome back to Tech Journey with DeDataDude. I am your host, DeDataDude. As we promised to always share real strategies. Please, if you are watching this and you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Here we are today with Adetutu Babatunde Emmanuel. It's not just succeeding in his career, but using it to transform lives. Emmanuel went from business development in Nigeria to founding Glow Impact CIC here in Scotland, empowering disadvantaged youth through digital skills trainings. The story of transition, impact, and resilience is exactly what community needs to hear. Please welcome to the show, Emmanuel.
I thank you guys. Thanks for having me. It's been a great pleasure connecting with you and the team as well as to the community.
Thank you very much. Quickly, take us back to that moment when you decided to leave your successful career in Nigeria for Scotland. What was going through your mind?
It's quite an interesting something that is making me laugh right now. But as of that time when I was about to take the journey, I was almost like leaving something that you used to and going to an unknown destination. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think to first track down for my background. So basically, when I got my admission in Nigeria at Federal University of Technology,
Okay.
I think that was in 2007. The first course, the one I was given was the course I was given was computer science. For some weird reason, I had to go and meet the registrar to plead that I don't want computer science. And the reasons why I said I didn't want that was because I had a friend who was always reading. He was in computer science, he was a year ahead of me. So he was always reading. And I felt that, oh, I don't want to get involved in an academicians that would not make me have anything about life. So I had to go and meet the registrar and telling the registrar that, please, I need you to change my course. The man was looking at me like, what's wrong with this guy? Everybody wanted computer science. You got computer science and you don't want it. So I was able to plead, and because of it was the course was very competitive. It was easy for me to request for a change, which they changed, and they gave me a very community. So that is just to show you I was always running away from anything that has to do with tech or science. I just want the soft life, you understand? 5 years down the line, I finished my degree. I finished my degree in 2012. Yeah, 2012. And yes, I got into the career within the course that I finished for, because I
Okay.
did industrial chemistry. So I've always loved chemistry right from secondary school. So I felt it was something that was easy for me. So there wasn't really a need for me to really stretch myself as the case. So I
Okay.
could just flow, because then I was also very business minded. I was also involved into church things. So I just wanted just something that I can just flow with without so much
Yeah.
stress. So I finished school. I was opportunity to get into a course straight away. I mean,
Oh.
get involved into a workplace straight away, which was nice for me. 3 years or 4 years after I had finished, 4 years after after I'd finished and I was already working,
Yeah.
I saw that there was going to be a need for me to, one way or the other, get involved into tech, not necessarily directly, because I saw that tech was the new way. And and as a guy that likes opportunities and always ready to be flexible, I knew I needed to find a way to get myself to grasp myself into it. I wasn't ready. I knew that it might not necessarily be into, I might not go into the core tech, but I knew that one way or that I need to get myself
Into this.
familiar with the tech space. Because even if you want to do something within the tech, even if you're not going to be in the technical side, you need to have a fundamentals of it. So I decided to take up the journey of coming to Scotland. I applied for masters in data science from business from University of Stirling, and I was favored enough to gain an admission into it. Now, when I was in Nigeria, I was expecting, oh yes, it's going to be an easy thing. Okay, yes, but because I didn't have a foresight. I didn't have a deep knowledge. I didn't even have a basic knowledge of computer science or anything within the tech. Now I want to jump into a master's. And in the UK, if you're coming to take your masters, they don't want to care if you have your first degree in any course. They don't want to care if you have a fundamentals into it. So I was more like I threw myself, because as of then, my first semester, I was trying to do some deep distance on SQL, Python, and I didn't have any understanding about these things. The courses was on a high level. I mean, my first semester, I was looking like, have I not made a very big mistake of my life? What am I doing here? And I'm not in Scotland, so I came with my family. So I was here battling between my family, trying to manage my family. I had two kids, trying to manage my kids as well. Then Scotland weather is totally different from Nigeria. It's so cold. I was trying to my body structures and metabolism was trying to even fathom how to adjust to the Scottish weather and the culture and the world systems and all of that, and also trying to get a job. Then on top of that, I was also now going into a master's program that I have no fundamentals about. So it was more like everything about my life is just coming to an end. So I remember my first semester, and first time I saw code, I was like, what is this? It was Python. Like, what is? I looked at that like, oh God, can I survive this semester? I've actually failed 50% of my course.
Wow.
I failed 50, over 50%. Half of the course, I failed it because I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't ready for it. I remember having a chat with my HOD after the first semester. Like, are you sure I'm not going to drop out of this course? I mean, I don't think I can survive this. You understand? Because I've always been this kind of person that I've always been I've done things within my comfort zone, which I've excelled. You understand? I was working with a multinational company in Nigeria, and I was excelling within the business management space and the chemical space, all together. So I was getting into the space, and it was hectic. And I just had a meeting with my HOD. I was like, I think I'm going to drop out. I don't see myself completing this with this on board. I don't see myself completing. And the man told me, he said, yes, he said he could understand me. You understand where I'm coming from. You understand the challenges. He said, but he's not asking me not to quit. But one thing he's asking me not to do is that I shouldn't give up until I give it my last shot. That means I shouldn't throw it into the tower until I give it my last shot. So, okay, I said, well, what do I have to lose? I mean, I'm already over here already. I've already paid for the tuition. I just have to just give it a shot. Whether I would go ahead with it or not, just let me see how far I did. And immediately I went ahead. I did the second semester. I did well. I didn't have any carryover. I scaled through the carryovers, and I graduated with a very, very good grade, such that almost at the end of the session, they actually had to call me to come and speak with the new intakes on how they could excel even if they don't have the few bases on it. So that has been my journey, and this is where I am now.
Wow. I'm really fascinated to you regard because finding yourself in something that you have been trying to run away from, then you got to a new country, like, okay, this is what you need to do. And first semester you failed 50%, almost 50%. And now you became someone that the HOD even invited to come and speak to the new intake. That is fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask you two questions. I want you to answer them one after the other. Number one is that you have mentioned, starting over as a cleaner in NHS Scotland. Tell us the story how you maintain your vision during these early days. Question 2 is that your progression in NHS Scotland through 3 promotions, within just 2 years is very impressive. What strategies help you to advance so quickly in a new environment?
So basically, I remember when for every new immigrant will tell you one of the most challenging things you're going to face as an immigrant is the fact that you are whatever most of the time, whatever skills and whatever credentials you had from your own country, it's like there's a very high tendency that it's not going to be regarded here. So even though I was working as an head, I was working as an head of operations, head of sales and business development for a multinational in Nigeria. That record was almost like zero over here because they were not regarding it as the case would be. So one of the things that I started applying for different roles within NHS, outside NHS. So what I did basically was that I had about up to like 5 different CVs because you see, from where we come from, you could be the HOD, but as an HOD, you also be doing the administrative role, you also be doing HR role, you also be doing so many roles. So I knew that I had
Yes, right.
what we call yes, I had different experience. I've shared experience with all these things. Even though I worked as an HOD because I was also involved in communications because most of the time I sit down and I draft the communications of marketing campaigns of a project way back in Nigeria. So what I had to do was that I had to sit down, draw out 5 different CVs to different professions, down from what I call the supervisor level down to the management level to the lowest level. So I just had to just put down all those 3 CVs. Then I now got to the point where I started applying. Now that is where it becomes quite a bit challenging. Now my first 3 months, I think my first 4 months, apart from the normal manner jobs you can easily get, my first 3 months when I started applying for the NHS, I think I've done over like 150 applications. Now 150 over 150 applications.
In
Now
the
so
first
what
three
I did
months,
was
right?
yeah, the first 3 months, 150
Okay.
applications. So what I did was that I took all my roles. I filtered my job search. I wasn't applying for any clinical. I wasn't applying for any clinical role because I know
Okay.
clinical roles you need to have licenses and all that. So I
Yeah.
started applying for non-clinical roles. So even if it is
Okay.
admin, HR, something board, anything that is not clinical, you understand? I won't sometimes at that point that I was even waiting to read the job description. I wasn't as long as it's not clinical roles, I was just applying. I was just applying. So I got my first 3 months. My first 3 months I applied and all I was just getting was
Unfortunate.
unfortunately. But one thing about me is that some people will tell you, oh, they felt bad about it. I didn't feel bad when I was getting the unfortunately because I knew that it was just a matter of time. I knew I was going to eat it. I knew I was going to get that role. I knew. So I just
Hmm.
knew it was just a matter of time. So I was not
Hmm.
catching feelings on the disapproval. I wasn't catching feelings on the negative vibe I was
Hmm.
getting from those
Hmm.
meals. I was just determined that I was just also I was even the 150 meals I was targeting. Maybe I will even get at the 200 meals or the 250 or the 110, 1000 meals. I knew that I had substance in me and I knew I was going to get it. I knew it was going to take some level of time. So I wasn't depressed by those feedbacks. I wasn't depressed because even during those times, I was also working. I was working as a cleaner. I was working. I mean, at that point in time, people tell me, and so when some people see my CV and they say, "Oh, you're working as an head of operations or head of business development and working as a cleaner. What's the correlation?" I said, "There's nothing to be emotional about." I said, "There's nothing to be emotional about." I understood the fact that I had counted my pain. I
Hmm.
have counted it and I know that this is what is going to take me. And I knew that whether in the long or in the short run, I was going to get to
Get it.
that thing I
Yeah.
wanted. So the first 3 months I was getting refusal. So I looked okay, I was getting refusal. I looked into my CV, I intertwined some things there, I edited something just to make it ensure that it's fit. So what I did was that on my CV, I did my CV in such a way that if you are looking for an HR, you can find something within my CV that can fit into it. If you
Hmm.
are looking for a role of an admin manager, there's something within my CV that can fit into it.
Fits in.
If you're looking for project manager, there's something inside my CV that can fit into it. So I made it flexible in such a way that it could fit into those categories and those roles I was looking for.
Oh.
I went from after I started applying, unfortunately, I was getting bounced back that I wasn't successful for my interview. Then I later got to the point where I started getting interviews. So I got about 5 interviews, and those 5 interviews, and sometimes I'll just go, okay, yes, let us do this. And one of the thing about it is that sometimes, because especially within the Scottish communities are quite they are very, very friendly, and they are very respectful. So sometimes you will be doing an interview, and the interviewer is doing and the next thing you will see after the end of the interview is that sorry, didn't pass. You just be like, what was now the purpose of giving me thumbs up during the course of the
It makes me remember one interview I did. I was very optimistic, like, okay, the vibes I got during the interview, okay, I've gotten this job. After 2 weeks, like, what's this? Wow.
so I mean, so I feel like, oh, what is really happening? So then the first role I was going to get with the NHS, the first role, in fact, I'd applied. So I got to the point that I'd applied for so many roles, and I now started getting interviews, different interviews. You understand? And so this particular, so sometimes when I'm ready for the interview, I would have to now start going to look for
For the
the
CV.
application I made, because I've made so many applications. So I had to now start searching into my account. Okay, which of the applications brought this interview? So this particular one, the first one I got, I just dropped my wife at work and I was just coming home. And I was almost cancelling the interview because I've done about 4, which didn't.
Hmm.
I've done about 4, which didn't work out.
Okay.
So I was almost canceling the interview and saying, oh yes, maybe just
To
one
be
of
the
those things.
same. Yeah.
I mean, that inner witness just say, just do it. I mean, what do you have to lose? Understand? If I think that even made me that the interview started in the next 20 minutes, and I was in that 20 minutes I was on the road driving back home. I just got home. Got into this thing. Did just like a 1 minute check, just a 1 minute glance on what the job description was,
Yes.
and I did the interview. And so at this time around, I wasn't in any way impressed with any nodding and all that. So I just did mine, and
Yeah.
and and I went like a day. I think NHS result often, as of then, that was in 2021, like 21-22. The result comes out very early, so you get to know your fate on
Hmm.
time. So I think the next, they just called me and when they called me, they say, hi, yeah, is this Babatunde? So I said, okay, oh god, you're about to say unfortunately again. He said, they just told me, oh yeah, we were so impressed. They will first of all say all those things. They won't give you the last thing. I was just in my mind. I was just
What's
like,
it?
"Please, can you just
Tell
tell
me.
me and
Just
then
go straight
pass?
to
Let me
the
go
point.
pass then." Because I know I didn't even prepare for it and all of that. They said you passed. I'm like, huh? I passed, and that was one thing I learned. The fact that even though I consider myself not to be ready, but I was still ready to give it the last shot, brought out that success. So imagine even if I had felt that I wasn't ready, you understand? And because of that, I said I wasn't going to go on with this
Okay.
thing. I'd have missed out from that opportunity.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
just told myself, yes, I knew I wasn't prepared. And
Hmm.
that is why I always tell people sometimes it's good for you to be prepared, but sometimes if the opportunity come, go for it.
Just go for
In
it.
the yes, in the course of the duty, you would get yourself prepared. Understand?
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
that was how I got my first role, and it's just been. And the beauty about NHS is the fact that your growth or how you move from one work to another is just to tell you, immediately you're in the system, to grow within the system or to move to any other department within the system. It's always something that is always very welcome, and it's been a
Wow.
great opportunity working with the team and working with the NHS.
So thank you so much for telling us this. If I want to get it right, and I don't want to assume, is it that you only targeted NHS as the only company that you want to work for, or you apply jobs to another companies?
So basically, I think I did apply for other roles, but I was focused with the NHS. And one of the reasons why I was focused with the NHS was that I had read a lot about their work ethics and the fact that their work is quite reliable. It's always an organization that when you work with the NHS, you are likely to be recognized in
Hmm.
other areas, even if
Hmm.
it is not within the health space, within the tech space, it's highly recognized. So I just told myself I was going to put 70% focus on NHS. NHS. The other ones, I know that an NHS is a workplace that supports inclusivity. You understand?
Yeah.
And of course, you get to see so many industries that talks about inclusion and all of that. But and some don't stick to it. But NHS is one organization that I know stick with it. If you're good with it, you do your interview well, and the fact that you get your results within some few days. I gave 70% of my attention to NHS applications.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I want us to focus on this particular area. Please tell us what inspired you to start Glow Impact CIC. Tell us that, tell us about one story that confirmed, okay, you were on the right path.
Okay, so I think two things confirmed it. So we had, like, I would say, three stories confirmed to explain what we're doing at Glow Impact, or why we decided to start Glow Impact CIT. So basically, my wife actually works with an organization that works with the council.
Okay.
And most of the things they do, they actually work with homeless folks. And so sometimes when she comes back, she feels a bit sad, like, oh yes, there's something more that can be done. And
Okay.
of course, from where we come from, we know that most of the benefit, as the case would be, that folks in this place have, we don't have it in over the sea. And we know what happens when we don't train disadvantaged youths. And so in her mind, she was like, oh yes, we needed to do something just beyond giving them access, because one of the things she does is she gives a mentoring advice on them accessing public funds and all that. Just beyond that, let us look for what we can do so that we can equip them mentally. You understand? So she has been putting on that. And I also had worked with the NHS, so I had done a project with rural remote, with folks in rural remote, and I knew that there was a black hole that needs to be filled. And that black hole will not just be filled by just the government alone. It would involve everybody, each participant, everybody coming together to see what they can do. I remember there was a time, there was a story about somebody who was drawing about a bright future. Just, it was actually drawing a picture about a company or an organization, and that organization, in that picture, there were just only white hair, people with white hair in that company. Then there was another company. There was a picture of another company where the people that were there were just only young folks, and it was asking people, even though the second picture had people who were young, but the place they were staying was not so beautiful compared to those aged people that were staying in an enclosed space, but were not having young people. And it was just explaining to us that these ones that is with air color, there's not going to be brightness in the next 10 years. They won't be doing so much. There won't be, this organization will likely die in the next 10 years, 15 years. Why this organization that is young, even though it's now fine, shows that there is something great they can do. So those are some of those things that resonated with me. And I just told my wife that, oh yes, let us work together. Let us see what we can do within the community. One of the things I see within, because I'm an immigrant, I'm a proud migrant, is that most of the time when we come here, the thing we're basically looking at is how do we get, and so I felt that, okay, there's a need for us to also look beyond what do we get from the Scottish environment or the Scottish community, because we also have something that they need as well. So we looked at, okay, what can we give back? How can we be impactful to the community that we've decided to call our second home, or decided to call our home? And that was when we started Glow Impact CIC. But the thing that gave us more confidence about the work we're doing was when so we decided to have a collaboration with Job Center. So for a lot of folks, the Job Center in the UK is organizations where people with disabilities that do not have the ability to make income from themselves due to one thing or another, that is actually where they go, and they probably help them to apply to get government
Sure.
funding just to take care of themselves. So we worked in collaborations with Job Center, and we had one of these participants who was referred from the Job Center. So she had been diagnosed with ADHD, and that's autism. But our own diagnosis actually came late. So I think she was 25 at then. Her own diagnosis came at 21 or thereabout. It came late quite. So she didn't know until later. And so when she knew, she could not go on. She's Scottish though. She could not continue with life. So she just had to pause a lot of things she was doing. And the job center now referred out to us that, oh yes, this is the lady, she's quite smart, but because of the situation of what she's going through and all of that. So we tried to take her in, we gave her some induction, just gave her some few counseling and all of that. Then we started taking her training on website design, because we basically, one of the skills we're focusing on is on website design. 1.5 months after the completion of the training, she completed her training within 1 month or 1.5 months. Afterwards, she was able to start up a portal, a e-portal where she talks about how autistic family, how they can manage their autistic family members, which was something fascinating. And so I remember when I went to the job center, and the person that is in charge of our case was just excited that, oh yes, she's been, I mean, she could see something brighter. She could see a purpose in herself. She could see that, okay, there's something for me. Now this lady is now going forward to, from someone that felt that, oh yes, I just need to just be at home and just wait on the government for funds. Now she's going ahead to start up 16. Now she's going ahead to register and start up her own company. So to us, that felt like it just shows that this, what we're doing, this support we're giving to the communities to get them economic active, is something that is worth it. And that was one of the most inspiring story that Glow Impact CIC has gotten in the past few months or years.
Thank you very much. The story of this autistic lady, who built the learning website through your program really stand out. Trust me. Yeah. So using this journey, please tell us what it taught you about the power of digital skills.
Yeah, so basically, let me.
Using a journey, from your program, she was able to start, she started building things and all. This really stand out for people, like me and everyone that knows about the story. So can you just tell us, what is that particular journey, what it taught you about the power of digital skills?
So basically, this to me was quite an eye opener to me, because sometimes you feel you've got a skill, and you feel, okay, this skill, this is what it can give. In fact, when we're taking up the course, when we take this, when we started, our goal was, oh yes, it would get them to get these disadvantaged people, or to be economic active. That means they will be able to fend for themselves. That was what we saw, but there was more of a bigger picture to it. One of the things is that one of the things we found out from her is that it gave her purpose. It gave her a meaning. You understand? Sometimes there are folks who have done wrong things to themselves. I don't want to make mention, but they've done wrong things to themselves simply because of they don't have a purpose. They've not been able to define themselves. It was more like the website design or the digital skill gave her a purpose, that there's more to life. It's more like it shines light into that mist
Wow.
darkness of our dream, and makes it, okay, there's still more to life. There's still something you can do. This is something you can make. This is something you can build. It's more like it replaced that worry in our mind to something light and something bright. So that was one of the things we saw about it. So sometimes those digital skills, it goes beyond, to many people, it goes beyond a means of generating revenue. To some folks, it's a definition of purpose to them, and it's something that gives them a reason to live. There are folks who have decided to throw everything into the tower simply because they could not find a purpose for themselves. And sometimes digital skills helps you to see this.
That's true. That's true. I love that. I love that. I love that. So now there may be someone, like the lady who is watching this, and how can they benefit from your program? How can they join your program?
Yeah. So basically, most of our programs, we always have different cohorts at different times. We run probably through the year. And the beautiful thing about our Glow Impact CIC and the website design training that we do is that it's a self-paced training. So after you do the induction, you can always take it at your time, at your convenience. So basically, all they need to do is just to go on Glow Impact CIC, www.glowimpactcic.org, and they would see all the information there. There are contact page where they could reach us, and also on our website you would see a link in case if you need to get more information. You will see a link where you can chat with any of our instructors, just a WhatsApp chat with any of our instructors, and they can walk you through it. We always have training program every month. So it's just for you to just indicate this is a month you will be willing to, and we'll set up all the training platform for you. Our training is self-paced and is online. So you can always do it at your time. You could decide to say you want to do it for 4 months. You could decide to say you want to do it for 2 months. We always leave the timetables to the trainers, because one of the things we try not to do is that we try not to be like lecturing in the four walls. A lot of rules and regulations as to the time you must submit your assignment and all of that. We try to work with you, not to teach you, as the case would be.
To make
We
it more
just
flexible.
make it more flexible and make it more fun. Because one of the things about digital skill is, if you don't see it as fun, you will not go far. So the goal is to want to make it. We want them to see it as something fun for them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I want you to give your best advice for immigrants entering UK tech. What can you
So
say to them?
yeah, so one of the things I want to tell folks is this, and I think that is one thing that has helped me, is that you don't necessarily need to get into. You don't necessarily need to be techie for you to get into tech. One of the things that people feel is that for you to get into tech, for you to get into the tech space, you must either be a coding
Coda.
guru or you must be an SQL master. No, you don't.
Hmm.
You probably can understand the fundamentals and get involved into the business management part of it. There is the digital management part of it. There's the project management part of it. All these are within the ecosystem. So all you need to do basically for anybody that wants to go into tech is understand the rudiment, understand the fundamentals. But if you feel that your greatest strength is in management, is in project management, you can understand the rudiment but branch into it. So one of the things that had helped me was the fact that when I came in, I was able to understand the fundamentals. But because of from my background was basically in business development, basically in different project management, I was able to focus on it. But I was able to intertwine the two and work effectively around it. So you don't necessarily need to get yourself be a Python guru for you to get into tech. If you are a Python guru, good, makes it wonderful for you. But there is more, there is more room, there's more other part of the ecosystem within the tech space that you can take an advantage use of. All you need to is just to look well, have the few basics, take the few trainings to understand the few basics, and see how you can train all your past experience, put it all together within the tech space that you're going to get into. And I'm very, very optimistic that the sky will certainly be your limit.
Thank you. That's so inspiring. That's such an actionable advice for anyone watching this. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. This will bring us to the end of another inspiring episode of Tech Journey with DeDataDude. Emmanuel, your story of transforming from a business leader in Nigeria to creating digital impact in Scotland is very remarkable. Trust me. And for everyone listening, let's recap some key takeaways from today's conversation with Emmanuel. Sometimes the bravest move is starting over, and digital skill can, not only transform life, but also change life and also change careers. And also building institutional relationships, takes patience and authenticity. And your background is your superpower. Emmanuel, thank you for sharing your journey with us. And for our listeners, where can they connect with you? Where can they learn more about you? Where can they, follow your journey?
Yeah, so basically, I think one of my most effective tools is on LinkedIn. You can always follow me on LinkedIn. I think it's Adetutu Babatunde Emmanuel. Or if you just go on LinkedIn on Glow Impact CIC, you would certainly catch up with me. I think LinkedIn is more of my professional tool, and that is where you can always reach out to me more. And also on our website as well, if you certainly go to any of our there are always various ways you can reach out to us. As long as you reach out to us and you say you want to have a chat with Emmanuel, we can always get up a time to speak
Wow.
with you.
Thank you. Please, for our amazing listeners, connect with Emmanuel. I'm very sure there are a lot of gains for you. And one thing I want us to have is that, okay, we shouldn't be thinking of collecting. Let's, change our mindset to a little bit, okay, how can I also contribute? How can I give? And thank you very much for that, Emmanuel. And for everyone, if this episode resonated with you, please make sure you like and subscribe to this channel, and also share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And follow us on our other social media platforms at DeDataDude. On LinkedIn, we just opened our new page. Just search for Tech Journey with DeDataDude. Please follow. And also, as I always say, remember, your dreams are valid, and sometimes the biggest leap leads to the greater impact, and only you can stop you. This is DeDataDude, and our guest today is Emmanuel. Until next time, please keep pushing, keep building, keep transforming lives through tech, and keep living. Peace out.
Bye.